characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids. Hello friends, I am Arian, and welcome to our channel, Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comment section. Then let's do not take much time and start our story quickly. Friends, today's story is of a boy from Belapur, a small village in Bijola district of Uttar Pradesh, whose name is Ritesh. So let's now hear this story from Ritesh's point of view. Hello friends, my name is Ritesh Rawat, and I am from Belapur, a small village in Bijola district of Uttar Pradesh. The story that I have brought to you today is the story of a very horrific and scary incident that happened in my life. Actually, at this time, I live here in Bijola and work in a company, and my parents and two siblings, they live in the village. My brother and sister study, and my father works in the field. Sometimes, though, I go to the village, and sometimes my father is my own. When they come closer, they bring a lot of things for me while coming from the village. In this way, my work was going very smoothly, but about 7 years ago, I fell into the trap of a scary girl who kept me in a beautiful trap, and I could not understand that I was trapped in her circle. Even today, as I write this, my fingers are trembling with fear, because I still haven't forgotten the night that people call my honeymoon. Actually, this is not a fabricated story, but it is a very much of my own life. This is the horrible truth that makes me shudder even today. Even in my dreams, I wake up startled. Then I can't sleep the whole night. But now I start this story from where that heartbreaking story came from in my life. Actually, in my childhood, I used to insist on listening to stories of ghosts and witches from the elders and my grandmothers. And sometimes such stories were heard while sitting among the elders in the village. Gradually, my interest in them grew. In the village, bush nights are also fun with bonfires and new stories. When there is a bonfire near the door, the people of their house, as well as the people of the neighborhood, come and sit down. Then stories from all over the world come out. I had heard about witches from my uncle in the neighborhood, and I wondered what a witch would be like. I used to hear about her speciality that she changes her appearance. She smells like rotten flesh and does not have the shadow of a witch, and people say about her that she hangs upside down. That would have been his identity. It is said that it has inverted legs, and it is strong by drinking human blood. The woman who has had a child or is newly married quickly casts her eyes on her. Amavasya leaves for the fulfillment of her wishes. She goes after the man she likes. Hearing all these things, I was scared in my heart. But then I never thought that one day I would encounter the witch, and she herself would come as my wife, and I would also have a honeymoon with her. So friends, now I tell you my most terrible truth from beginning to end, in which I am not intentional. In fact, he cleverly framed me. I told you at the outset that I live and work in Bijola. I had been getting calls from my mom for several days asking me to come home. There are some important things to do that cannot be done on the phone. You're getting older. Get married now. How long should I stay in the stove? Relationships have come from 2 or 3 places. Come and see the girl. You should be married now. I was bored of hearing this. That is why I was constantly avoiding them. I don't want to get married yet. Wanted. But this time, Mom was very serious. It was postponed 3 times, but this time it was different. He said sternly for the last time, "This time you have to decide the marriage. Believe it or not, this time your wedding lamps will be lit in Diwali." I fell silent. When did the age of 30 pass in the hectic life of the job? I didn't know, but to be honest, I never felt connected to anyone. Many relationships have come, but that has not happened. Maybe my mom was right. The fatigue of loneliness was now beginning to descend more into the soul than in the body. I said yes. I couldn't refuse them anymore. And at 5 p.m., I took a 15-day leave from the company and left for the village. The bus would stop at every stop where some passengers would get off and some passengers would get off. Just like that, a stop bus stopped before my village. A girl was standing under an old peepal tree. She was wearing a red saree. He had long hair that was waving from the waist down, and there was a strange sparkle in his eyes that was forcefully drawing attention. He looked at me. There was a charming smile on her beautiful lips. I thought maybe it was someone from the village. There must be a girl who is somewhat playful and is probably waiting for someone to stop by here. But when I waved at her, she smiled softly. He smiled slightly. When the bus started moving, I wanted to look down, and just then my heart stopped. She was still smiling at me with the same charming look. She was gorgeous. It was beautiful, but there was something strange. Her name was Shalini. Friends, now you will think that when I was sitting in the bus and she was standing down and I saw her in the moving bus and did not even talk to her, then how did I know her name? Gone. Now I am going to tell you about this and how miracles happen in life and how those strange coincidences come in front of humans, the ones he never even thinks about. The same thing happened to me. I reached my home. It was now night. Mom was so happy to see me. They could not believe that I had agreed to get married and had come home. But now I was in front of their eyes. Mom happily went to the kitchen and brought me tea and snacks from there. I was laughing at the point. The joy inside them was spilling over. In fact, how important is the marriage of their child for the parents? That's what I learned today. So far, everything was fine. Who knew then that my marriage itself would be an accident that everyone would remember? That night, my mom cooked a meal for me. Despite my refusal, he made a lot of things and fed me stubbornly. We all talked for a long time. Then I got tired and I started feeling sleepy, so my mom and dad and my siblings also went to sleep, and I went to the room. Fell asleep. When I woke up in the morning, after having tea and breakfast, Mom started making a program that let's see the girl today. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Mom said it looks like someone is coming. When she went ahead to open the door, I stopped her and said, "Mommy, you let it be." I go and open the door. I opened the door and was shocked. Standing in front of me was the same girl I had seen from the moving bus. When I first saw him in my courtyard, there was a strange rattle in the air, as if time had stopped. I couldn't take my eyes off him. Seeing him, I didn't think he was from this world. There was a depth in his eyes. She was silent, somewhat mysterious, but his smile seemed to have printed on my heart. She smiled at me and said, "Won't you let me in?" I was distracted by his sweet voice. I woke up in shock and I moved away from the front, and she walked in. Mummy was happy to see him and said, "Sit down, Shalini. How are you?" Then I came to know that her name is Shalini. She sat talking to her mother for a while and smiled at me with her eyes. Small. After a while, she left. I asked my mom, "Mommy, who is this girl?" Mummy told me she was Shalini. She has come to stay in our neighborhood only last evening. She is the granddaughter of Thakur Sahib. After completing her studies, she wants to stay here. Then the same day, we all went to the neighboring village to see the girl. The girl's family gave us a lot of respect. I saw the girl. She was normal. When asked about her education, she didn't say anything. I was disgusted by his folly. What is the use of a girl who can't even speak properly? What is the use of shame? One more thing happened. While I was looking at that girl, Shalini's face was waving in front of my eyes. I told my mom I didn't like girls. My mother looked at me angrily. She said softly, "It's okay, girl. What heroin do you want?" But once I said no, I didn't say yes. My mom was angry with me. We returned. That evening, when we were all sitting in the courtyard, Mom was cutting vegetables. Dad was listening to old songs on the radio, and I was just like that. He was sitting. That's when he stepped into our house. When she saw her mother, she said, "Hello, Auntie." There was a sweetness in his voice that dissolved in his ears, like an old melody. The mother smiled and asked, "Hey, son, come in. Was there anything to do?" She looked at me and said, "I had to ask for a match. Grandmother was asking to light something." At that glance, as my whole world turned upside down, friends. Now you guys will think that I was going to tell some strange and scary thing in my story, and where did a unique love story come from in the middle? But this is also related to all this. You will come to know later that Shalini's visit became common after that day. Sometimes she would come to ask for turmeric for grandmother. Sometimes she plucks roses to put in her hair. Mom liked him very much. She sat beside them. I would learn old tips from them, talk about the kitchen, and I would just watch from a distance. But one day a domestic incident changed everything. It was raining that day. Mom was in the kitchen and drops were dripping from the ceiling. Mom sent me to remove the old utensils on the roof. As soon as I reached upstairs, I saw that Shalini was already there drenched. She was holding a broken pot in her hand. I asked him in amazement, "What are you doing here?" He didn't answer. His eyes were wet, maybe from the rain or I don't know why. I asked him, "How's this pot? Why are you standing here with this?" "This is our house. I saw my mother's old brass ring that had disappeared a few days ago." Shalini was silent for a few moments. Then she said, "Sorry, Grandma is very sick. We are short of utensils, so they asked you to ask for them. I wondered what you would do in this rainy season. Disturb? That's why I'll pick it up from here. I just need it for a few days." There was no shame in his eyes. It was just a strange kind of glow. Just like a cat before hunting. I felt very strange, and his actions were very mysterious. I had carried an umbrella in such heavy rain and strong winds. Even then, I was not able to stop there, and she stood there as if she was not having any effect. And with gusts of wind, there was a smell of rotten thing coming out of nowhere. I ran downstairs. I called my mother. Mom came, looked at Shalini. Again, the mother said that if this utensil is used in the service of someone, then it is the work of God. Shalini bowed her head. Mom went downstairs. After that day, Shalini became more silent than before, but his eyes were on me. She would often hover around me. I was watching and observing his movements. She was very much interested in me. I was very aware that she was drawn to me, and it wasn't that I wasn't thinking about her. Actually, I was thinking now that there can't be a better girl than Shalini. Why don't I marry Shalini? Mommy's love for him deepened. She would make him sit next to her and sing old-fashioned songs. Teach me to sew something new from old clothes. She pulled me closer every day, one night when the whole neighborhood was asleep. Shalini came and knocked on the door. She said softly, "I'm moving out of here now." I was shocked to hear him. I asked him, "Where are you going?" "Actually, I'm the younger of my grandmother who lives here," she said, crying. "I am my brother's daughter. My parents are not parents. It brought me to stay. But yesterday she went abroad to be with her son. I don't even have a point staying here anymore. Who will I stay with? I have no one in this world. I will go anywhere." Then she fell silent. Suddenly he asked, "Ritesh, will you marry me? I'm falling in love with you." What do I say right away? I don't understand. I was stunned. I was about to say something when she smiled and cut me off and said, "The first time I met you was that I saw you at the turn and you were on the bus. So I fell in love with you at first sight, and when I came here, I didn't come to your place just to ask for matches. I was looking for an excuse to meet you. I don't have time now. I want your yes or no right now. No one is going to accept me. If you get married, I will serve you all my life." As soon as I came to my senses, I immediately decided. I told him, "Let's go to my mom and I'll tell you my decision right now." I took him to my mom, Mommy with me, seeing the checkpoint. I told Mom, "Mommy, I want to marry Shalini, and that's what I like." Mummy was very fond of Shalini, but when she came to know that she had no family and no one here either, she fell into thought. Seeing them silent, I said, "Mummy, what has to do with her family? She means an empty girl and she is an orphan. She used to live here with her aunt. She also went abroad. So keep her at your house and get her married from here. My leave is also a few days left." Mom's not mine though, but she agreed to my happiness. Shalini came to live with us with 1 or 2 pairs of clothes. Mom gave him a room. She lived in it and didn't go out much. Seeing his lifestyle, the mother said, "My future daughter-in-law is very straightforward. She doesn't talk much." Preparations for the wedding were going on fast, but Shalini was not even in front of a house. My mind was very restless. I wanted to see him. I wanted to talk to him and tell him what I wanted. Know about his likes and dislikes. He wanted to make sure that whatever stuff I brought was to his liking. But it was as if she was living alone in the room. My mother was noticing my anxiety. I was stunned. He told me that he does not see the girl before marriage, nor does he meet her. And by the way, he must be ashamed now. So don't bother him. It's just a matter of 2 days. You will get married and then talk and watch her for the rest of your life. Saying this, the mother laughed and went away. There were also relatives in the house. Mom was responsible for feeding them. She was very busy and extravagant. They didn't even have time to talk. And finally, the day before the wedding, I saw Shalini leaving the veranda. His hair was open and his gait was strange, as if he was not stepping on the ground. His shadow was not even visible, or maybe I was confused. The wedding was simple. Shalini silently performed every ritual like an obedient bride. Mummy told me that Shalini is fine, but she does very strange things sometimes. As they say, you have to live in a banyan room. To my surprise, the room had been locked for years. Someone's over there. There was a suspicious death. My mom said there was something in that room. There is no worship there. Well, all the wedding rituals were over and we had a round two. Now we were going to have the happiest night of my life, which is the most special. That is, our wedding night had arrived. But that was going to be the most horrible for me. We both went to our room. Shalini stood by the veiled window. His cloak was so long that it was sweeping the ground, and his hair was dangling below the waist, in which there was a gajra. He had his back on the side. I asked her, "Shalini, I want to give you something on this auspicious day of today. Tell me what you want from me." Shalini turned towards me and said, "If this is the case, then tell me for sure that you will fulfill my wish." I said yes, and she said, "Let's spend the night in the banyan room." I was shocked to hear this. I said the room was locked. It doesn't even get cleaned, and maybe there's a soul in it. Hearing this, she laughed out loud and said, "I cleaned it up during the day. Actually, I like adventure." Me. That's what feels good, and that's my only wish. Now, if you want to complete it, do it, and if you don't want to do it, it doesn't matter. I agreed with him. But I said, okay, let's go. But let's sneak in there. No one should be aware of this. Let everyone sleep. I said this because my mother strictly forbade me to go there. And if she comes to know that I did not listen to her, she will be very angry with me. Shalini was very happy about this, and I was also happy to see her happy. And in this way, I myself have taken a disaster called jumping into the fire. And that's what I did. One of my sisters-in-law came into the room laughing and put 2 glasses of milk. She also placed sweets on a plate and went on laughing. Late at night, when everyone was asleep, we both reached the banyan room. I saw that there was a bed decorated on which flowers were also laid. It was Shalini who did it at some point of time, or got it done by someone. I had no idea about him. A strange smell engulfed me as I entered the room. Sandalwood and flowers. There was a stench of rotten things in between. I thought that such a smell settled in the air in a closed room. For this reason, it may be due to the closed room. Actually, there was a room at the westernmost end of our house, and on the same side of the wall was a banyan tree whose branches used to come up to the roof above the room. That's why we called it the banyan room. Here too, she stood at the window of the room. She opened the window panes and looked out. I couldn't see anything else in the darkness from here. Only a banyan branch was visible in front. Window. When the palls were opened, a cold breeze began to come. I thought maybe he liked it better to look at the scenery outside and stand by the window. I wanted to know about him. I wanted to talk to him a lot, but she wasn't saying anything. I said to Shalini, "What's the matter? Why don't you say anything? Are you angry with me? Let's talk about something. Tonight is very special for us. We are going to start a new life, so it is better that we get to know each other better. Come to me." That she only smiled at me, so I went and stood beside her. I slowly lifted her veil, and it was as if the moon came out of the veil. She looked so beautiful. There was a strange sparkle in his eyes and a slight smile on his lips. I couldn't be more patient and gave up on talking to him a lot. I stepped towards him and came to him. I put one hand on her shoulder and turned her face towards me with the other hand, so she put both her arms around my neck. She hugged me. Now my heart started beating loudly. I had never touched a girl before, and here Shalini was ready to get into me. I also started getting uncontrollable. I gently lifted her in my lap and went to the bed and laid her down. I myself came and lay down beside her and started kissing her in my arms. Shalini turned around. Then my eyes went to his feet, and as I stopped breathing, his legs were upside down. I jerked Shalini as if it were a naked electric wire, and I was electrocuted. "Yes. How is it?" I stammered. She just raised her head and smiled. Then she spread her arms towards me and said, "Now that you have seen it, then start the honeymoon." I was in a bad state of fear. My heart started beating loudly. It seemed as if the liver would jump out of the circle. I was drenched in sweat. Now I wanted to escape from my life. I ran towards the door, but the door closed on its own. a strange cold breeze began to spread in the room. Now Shalini got up and slowly started changing her appearance. First of all, my mother's. It came into shape. I was surprised. How can that be? Then I thought maybe my brain has stopped working because of fear. That is why I am seeing these camel patang scenes. How could this girl be in the form of my mother? Maybe my mom came into my room. When they didn't see me there, they would have come here looking for me. Thinking of this, my mind was relieved and I hurriedly told my mother, "Mom, this girl isn't really a girl. This is a witch who has married me fraudulently. I was just telling you that I was a mom." He was stunned to see the form. Mom was laughing like crazy out loud. His face was up to the ceiling and his hair was disheveled. I shook my mom off and said, "What happened, Mommy? Come to your senses. How are you reacting to this?" Mom looked at me and my heart trembled. Mummy's eyes were like red blood and her appearance changed as soon as I saw her. Now there was a strange elderly woman standing there. As soon as he saw me, he started crying in a very pained voice. Seeing this, my mind was going haywire and I could not understand that. "What is happening?" I said to the elderly lady. "Why are you crying like this? What's wrong with you?" She looked at me with tearful eyes and her face changed. Now Shruti was standing there. My first girlfriend, Shruti, who once studied with me in school, was the end of my sadness. I forgot all my fears and tears started flowing from my eyes. I felt that I had reached the era when Shruti used to play with me. She grew up playing with me and we both started liking each other. But when it came to her marriage, she insisted that I would marry Ritesh. If no one else, his family stopped him from leaving the house and put a lot of restrictions on it. She couldn't meet anyone anymore. In the meantime, her family decided to marry her in another place. Because Shruti couldn't get married to me, I belonged to another race. That is why it was not possible. And when we fell in love with each other, we had no idea what the consequences would be or what caste would be like separating us. Then marry her on when pressed, he committed suicide by consuming poison. His family members were angry at me. Now they were looking for me to kill them too. But by then my family had sent me to my aunt's house. Today she was standing in front of me. He told me that he recognized me, Ritesh. I said in a voice full of pain with tearful eyes, "You are Shruti. Tell me, why did you leave me alone? Why did you eat poison?" She laughed out loud. It was a creepy voice echoing through the room with a cold laugh. Hearing a chill wave of fear echoed my reed. Ran to the bone. I looked up. Now there was another woman standing there whose appearance was very terrible. His face was burnt and his skin was hanging from him. There was a red meat look which looked terrible. I had a feeling that whoever was in front of me would be killed by fear. She said in a hoarse voice, "I am the one who was burnt before her first wedding night. My dowry was not fulfilled and more money was demanded. When the dowry demand could not be met, I was set on fire by sprinkling petrol on me and latched from outside the room. It was imposed. It was the room for me to start my new life. It was for my wedding night. That became a cremation ground for me, and Suhag Sage became my funeral pyre. Even after death, my soul wanders here on the banyan, in the surrounding areas and in the room of this house. Now I return every year to complete the first night of a groom's night, and I am not a witch. I am your wife, and this is my honeymoon night. You are a witch." A trembling sound came out of my mouth. It was a new moon that night. There was silence outside, and my soul trembled inside. Shalini lit a black lamp in the room and chanted the Tantra mantra. He said a few words. Just then, a strong gust came through the open window and gripped my body. I was about to faint when I saw a horrific scene. With that strong wind, 2 or 3 bats came in through the window. The woman of that terrible appearance caught the bats and started chewing them and eating them. She was sucking his blood like a juicy mango. I started feeling scared as well as heavy vomiting, which I stopped with great difficulty. I was thinking of ways to avoid it now. My brain started working fast. Then I remembered something my grandmother had taught me. Gone. The witch's eyes first fall on a pregnant woman or a newly married man. She drinks blood at night. But if you keep a basil leaf in your mouth, you will be saved. I noticed that during the day's wedding rituals, there was a need for tulsi dal during the puja. I was the one who broke it. I put it in my pocket when I had too many leaves. They seemed no less than a blessing to me at this time. I took out a dried basil leaf from my shirt pocket and put it in my mouth. Shalini screamed, "What have you done?" And she jumped up to the ceiling. And yes, hanging vomit from the ceiling hung up. His tongue was hanging out. His eyes were red and his hair was hanging to the ground. I opened the door and ran straight into my mom's room. Mom gathered father, siblings, relatives. Some people familiar with the upper air were also called from the village. Everyone came with me to the banyan room, but the room was empty. The lamp was extinguished. I opened my eyes and saw that the room that was clean to me and the bed decorated with flowers in the room was no longer there. Spider webs were hanging here and there. Dust. There was a pile of thunderstorms. A broken plank stood against the wall. There was also a lot of garbage and webs hanging on it. There were some wings, drops of blood, and bones of bats lying there. They smelled horrible and smelled of rotten flesh. It seemed as if meat had been eaten there for a long time. An elderly acquaintance of the village said that a woman lives on this banyan tree. The villagers have seen his face. She is badly burnt. When someone gets married, they try to subdue the newlywed groom. Tries. Her spirit returns on the night of the honeymoon. She subdues a newlywed and drinks her blood. I asked tremblingly, "But how can anyone recognize him?" The old man said, "There is no shadow of it. There are inverted legs, hanging on the tree. There is a strong, rotten smell, and it is about to change the form." Shalini had all these symptoms. Oh my God, I was married to a witch. My mind started spinning. Mom asked the old man, "Tell me what happened then." The elders said that the newly married couple to the biggest tantric in this area is going to defend themselves. They conduct a havan, etc. Then the witch could not wander near them. For the time being, the knowledgeable exorcist did some tantrics there and told my mother that for the time being, we have made some arrangements, due to which the witch will not return here yet, but she will not leave Ritesh easily. You will have to make full arrangements for it from a big tantric. Only then will she leave Ritesh's pursuit. Otherwise, she will come every new moon and will take Ritesh's life. My mother trembled with fear. Somehow, we all spent the night awake. When my mom saw it in the morning, my eyes were ruddy. The body was burning. Now Bhavani, the biggest tantric in our area, was called. He walked around the house and said that there is negative energy in the banyan room. The girl you married is not a human being. She is a soul whose desires after marriage remained unfulfilled. Has there ever been such a death in your house? Mummy told me that this was the house of my father-in-law's brother, or say, Chia father-in-law. It meant the house was in one, but this room was in their share. When they got married, the family members cleverly withheld some amount in money from the fixed dowry. When he said something wrong to the bride's maternal family, the bride felt bad. When he also said something, the uncle got angry and left the room, leaving the bride. As a result, in a fit of rage, the bride poured a lot of kerosene on herself and set herself on fire and died. But everyone spread the lie that the bride was killed. Tantric Bhavani said, "Then it has been proved that she is doing everything. That is why he is the bridegroom on every new moon." Fined. Because her groom had left her wedding night incomplete. She is very old and very dangerous. She has become a powerful witch by drinking blood every new moon, and she has many other souls in her control, whose form she was changing. When you planned Ritesh's wedding and invited him to see the girl, then she became active and went straight to the front corner of the village, where Ritesh saw him. After that, even before the arrival of Ritesh, Shalini started living in the deserted mansion in front of you and contact you people. He did it and caught his trap. She succeeded in her mission. She has just stayed for a while. On the next new moon, she will become active again. Till then, make all your arrangements. Let me tell you some stuff. Bring that. I will do a small havan, in which I will liberate the souls that witch has subdued, due to which the power of the witch will be almost destroyed. Your house and you will survive it. She won't be able to harm you. Mummy did not let Bhavani Baba go from there because there was such an atmosphere of fear in the house. We all felt threatened when he left. Baba camped outside the same room and Papa brought all the goods from the market. When all the goods arrived, Bhavani Baba started his havan. There was a commotion as soon as we saw it. The wind started blowing, and along with the chants of havan, a figure came from nowhere and fell into it. This was Shruti's soul. The tantric's havan continued. He kept on reciting the mantra. A little later, another shadow appeared, that of the old woman. She also went straight to the Havan Kund, all day after the Tantra mantra of Bhavani. Tantric G protected our house and us from the wrath of witches. The next year I got married. My wife is a simple girl. I took him to Bijola, where we are living very happily. Now I have a son too. A lot of time has passed since that night, but every year on a new moon night, I feel the same rot. There is a knock on the door and a sound comes. Ritesh, my suhag rat was left incomplete. At night, there is often the sound of bracelets. The teacup is made automatically. Hair is found on the pillow. Sometimes a red sari palu is visible from under the door. Friends, if you think about it, then Bhavani Baba's Tantra mantra has become useless. No, guys, it's nothing like that. I only dream of these things. Perhaps Shalini had settled in my subconscious, which still comes as a dream. So friends, this was our story today. Do tell us how you liked the story by commenting. And those who have not yet subscribed to the channel must subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I, your friend, will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.